On return to my country, Nigeria, I was posted to Environmental Impact Assessment Division. What we do basically is we look at the impacts of major development projects in the country in all sectors of economy, and we try to involve people of the host communities in addressing social issues, and then we try to make sure that the environmental impact assessment issues relating to the environment are carefully identified and the mitigation measures are put in place to ensure environmental sustainability across the nation.
Upon my return to my home country, I participated in the curriculum writing for grade 10, 11, and 12. And now we are going to start curriculum for normal school, which is aimed for teachers who are going to teach in secondary schools in Djibouti. So the short course was very beneficial. It had a magical effect on us, and it has increased and upgraded our performance in our jobs.
On my return back home, I was given a project to redesign a curriculum for teaching newly recruited officers into the service on international security, cross-border crimes. And the major objective was to be able to let the newly recruited officers to immediately identify threats and risk to people who were entering the country, and to be able to identify what kind of cross-border crimes was at stake at that time. I really would like to thank Australian Aid for giving me a world-class education and for making me proud and boosting my ego.
The great challenge that we have first since I came back from my studies is to make the communities and mining companies comply with the provisions of the 2007 Minerals and Mining Act and 2011 regulations in terms of environmental obligations. So because the law is still new, we have difficulty in making communities and mining companies to comply. However, since I returned, I've been able to engage in a dialogue, education and enlightenment of the mining companies and their communities in order to make them see the reason why they have to comply with these environmental requirements. So far, I've been able to make some mining companies to implement the CDA, that is Community Development Agreement, that they signed with the communities by providing water, by providing schools, by providing electricity for the communities, thereby enhancing their social status and also contributing to minimum development goals.
I've been given a task to transfer around 400 families that were affected by the mining projects in one of our provinces and ensure the restoration and integration in a new community, a new area. We are implementing various projects in water and sanitation, education, health, malaria and HIV. But the main thing for me is the project that we're implementing in education, which targets girls' education and also adults' education.
When I came back, the Minister of Health asked me to reestablish the environmental health program countrywide. My major task at that moment was to coordinate a public and private sector to establish the contingency plan for avian influenza. After that, I just thought that it would be good for me to get back to the field. So I applied for a job for Ariel Foundation, where I am now. And my major contribution is to work with prevention and treatment for HIV for women, their children and partners.
My overall objective was to enhance capacity building for farmers in the province of Cibitoke. I succeeded to organize communities, farmers in 4 associations in zone Rugombo, Ndava, Cibitoke, and the zone Kasenyi. I am very happy because the local administration supported this initiative and the farmer can have capacity built in post-harvest management.
After coming back, I started working with the FAO, that's the UN Agency for Food and Agriculture, as National Policy Advisor. During 2 years of my project, I managed the integration of cross-cut issue into national policy and strategies. For now, in Mozambique, we now have food security and nutrition as a cross-cut issue as a result of that project, and the government and other private sector are taking into consideration HIV/AIDS as a cross-cut issue, which also help the country to deal with the disease as not only for health sector matter, but for all other stakeholders.
On return from University of Newcastle, I was posted to Montfort Special Needs Education College, which trains teachers in special needs education. So far, I have initiated a project on inclusive education where we are training mainstream primary school teachers on inclusive education classroom practices. We have reached up to 500 teachers in Chirazu district, and we also have produced 750 copies of inclusive education booklets, which are actually being distributed to primary schools for teachers to use as their reference materials in inclusive education pedagogy.
After returning home to my country in Ethiopia, I joined the International Livestock Research Institute, and I've been doing research helping smallholder farmers. In the process of doing this research, I produced over 280 publications, scientific publications, and training materials for small farmers. So far, I have mentored about 65 PhD and MSc students, and I hope this capacity building exercise in Africa will help other African countries and my country significantly.
I did a project on improving the adoption of PPE in the mining sector. Basically, the mining done in my country is done artisanally, and we have a lot of accidents, mine hazards. So I did that project to come and enlighten the artisanal miners in my country on the need to use PPE, personal protective equipment, to reduce the rate of accidents in the mine. And I'm happy to say that most people have adopted it, and we are having less number of accidents, and mortality rate has reduced drastically.
When I came back, I had an opportunity to apply for a small grant. I run an NGO in Nigeria, I'm the founder. So the small grant was to empower community women to enhance their capacity in their trade. So basically, we have 30 women already benefiting from the project. It's actually a small grant scheme, a loan, a revolving loan for these women. They're expected to trade with the money and return back. It's an interest-free loan. So, and the project is supposed to be ongoing, it's revolving. That means it's going to affect a lot of women in the community.
When I went to Australia, I was working at the Ministry of Education. When I came back to the same place, but I was appointed to join the task force to set up a new institution for quality assurance on distance education. I was a member of this task force, and we were 5. We managed to set up the institution, and it was created by law. Today, I'm the Director of Accreditation and Training for Distance Education, which means I'm responsible for defining policy for quality assurance for distance education for all levels of education. I mean primary, secondary, and higher education.
I've been working for the Ministry of Health in the headquarters, where I head the National TB program, and I've been engaged in many projects, but this particular one was about development of a TB declaration in the mining sector. I led a technical working group under the auspices of SADC Secretariat to develop this document, which was directed by the Ministers of Health. The entire purpose of this document is to make sure that countries, the member states of SADC, are accountable in addressing TB in the mining sector. And this is an internationally recognized document which guides all the member states in terms of addressing this challenge, in terms of domesticating this very same document so that they can establish laws and regulations to address the challenge and to make sure that the people working in the mines, their families and the communities at large are not put at risk. And also issues of compensation are taken into care in this internationally recognized document, supported by the World Bank and also the Stop TB Partnership and other partners.
When I returned back home, because in Australia I studied about the trade policy and the negotiation skills, because most of my ministry were working on the negotiation among nations at the bilateral level, regional and multilateral levels. So we had a project which we were supposed as a country to prepare the trade policy for the country. And the trade policy is the policy which is one of the requirements at the World Trade Organization, a country to have so as to promote export and import for our product. We have made now a draft, a first draft. We're expecting to complete it in January.
My work plan on return is to sensitize my communities, my work fellows, my colleagues on the need to have a clear and a credible PPP contract with our various private sectors. In view of that, as part of the program, we initiated a project of putting into place a management contract on engaging the various water facilities on a PPP model, in that the private sector is going to manage the water facilities to bring about a sustainable water system. At the end of the project, we're going to have a private sector to manage the water facilities, and we will have a sustainable water project in our various communities.